that's like a living archive. It holds centuries of history, trade, culture, all specific to one old, vibrant part of a city. How much story can a single dialect actually carry? That's what we're diving into today. We're looking at the sources on the significance of Dhakaiya Urdu, the dialect you hear in Old Dhaka or Puran Dhaka.
Exactly. And when you dig into the material, it's clear this isn't just a way of speaking. It's a carrier of tradition, a real reflection of this complex multinational history embedded right there in the community.
Right. So how much culture, how many different historical threads can this one specific dialect really hold on to? That's our mission, really, to explore its importance, the history, the cultural identity, the relevance it still has today, all based on the sources we've got. Okay, let's unpack this. Get
Yeah.
at me. So to really get it, we have to start at the beginning, right? Where did this unique dialect actually come from? It seems tied to these big historical shifts.
Oh, absolutely. You really have to trace it back. The roots of Dhakaiya Urdu are, well, deeply connected to the Mughal period. Dhaka wasn't just some outpost. It was a really key hub for the Mughal Empire, administratively and, strategically.
Okay, so the Mughals brought the initial influence, but what pushed it from being, say, an administrative or military language into the everyday life of the people? What was the tipping point?
That seems to be commerce.
Yeah.
Definitely trade. Dhakaiya Urdu quickly became like the main language in Old Dhaka's business areas. If you were involved in trade back in the 17th, 18th century, a merchant dealing with goods, this dialect was essential. And it wasn't just spoken. The sources mentioned it being used for commercial letters, for keeping accounts, basically standardizing communication between all these different groups involved in trade.
That standardization point is interesting. When you've got Bengali speakers, people from the West, officials using Persian, you need something everyone can sort of agree on, right?
Precisely. It gives the language real weight, real utility.
But this is where it gets really interesting for me, the actual structure. We call it Dhakaiya Urdu, but the sources say it's more of a mix, a three-way thing. What did the Mughals actually forge there?
It's a fantastic example of linguistic blending. And that blend is probably why it lasted. It's fundamentally a mix of Bengali, Urdu, and Persian. Think of it like a historical negotiation. You've got Persian, the official Mughal language, the language of the court, high culture. Then Urdu, linked often to the military, maybe newer elites moving in. And crucially, Bengali, the language of the land, the local population.
How does that work, though, functionally? Is it like vocabulary from one, grammar from another?
Yeah, pretty much. The sources suggest Persian often shows up in more formal vocabulary, maybe administrative words, poetry even, the language of the elite, sort of. Urdu seems to provide a lot of the grammatical backbone, the structure, and links it to that broader North Indian linguistic world. And then the Bengali element brings in the local flavor, the everyday words, idioms related to life right there in Dhaka. This mix makes Dhakaiya Urdu itself a kind of symbol of, well, multi-language interaction over centuries, peaceful interaction mostly.
And that mixing wasn't just about making trade easier. It actually shaped the city's whole cultural output.
Absolutely. The sources really emphasize this. Dhakaiya Urdu is apparently rich in specific cultural forms, songs, poems, stories that are integral to Dhaka's heritage. Plus, there's a deep folk tradition mentioned. Lots of unique proverbs, idioms, local customs tied directly to this way of speaking. It's like a whole cultural world preserved right there in the dialect.
Okay, so we've got its roots in the Mughal era, driven by trade, and it's this unique blend of Bengali, Urdu, and Persian. Let's shift gears a bit. How does it actually function inside the community? If trade forged it, how did it become the social glue?
That's maybe its most crucial role, socially speaking. It's fascinating how it worked to unify specifically the Muslim community within Old Dhaka. You had a really diverse mix of people, descendants of Mughal officials, local converts, merchants from different regions. They needed a common linguistic ground.
And why this hybrid? Why did Dhakaiya Urdu work to bring them together when maybe, say, a more pure Urdu or standard Bengali might not have?
Well, probably because it was a hybrid. Standard Urdu might have felt a bit foreign or maybe too formal for everyday life for many locals. And standard Bengali might have lacked that connection to the historical ruling groups or, importantly, the religious vocabulary that was valued. Dhakaiya Urdu offered this kind of cultural middle way. It had prestige from its Urdu and Persian bits, the connection to religious learning, but it also felt local and familiar because of the Bengali base. It created a unique ease.
And that feeling of us goes right into the home, doesn't it? It's not just a public language.
Exactly. It moves from the street to the family. For many families in Old Dhaka, it's the primary language spoken at home. the language of daily life, family stories, and critically, it's used in religious ceremonies, religious practices. So it becomes fundamental to both social and spiritual identity.
That deep integration makes it a really interesting educational tool too, right? Especially for kids growing up in Bangladesh today with its complex language situation.
Yes, it functions as this amazing linguistic bridge, a stepping stone almost. The sources suggest that because it shares features with both Bengali and Urdu, kids growing up with Dhakaiya Urdu find it easier to learn both standard languages later on. It's like they have a key that already fits two different locks, linguistically speaking.
And given those historical links you mentioned, I bet that helps with religious education specifically, accessing older texts.
Precisely. Its connections, lexically and historically, to Arabic and Urdu, where so many religious texts and traditional teachings are found, make it really supportive for religious learning. Gives learners a familiar starting point, easing them into studying foundational spiritual texts. It helps pass knowledge down through generations.
Okay, let's bring it to the present day. You've got this language with deep historical roots, strong social functions, but we live in a world where global languages, national standards, often put pressure on these very local dialects. Why is Zakaya Urdu still so important now?
That pressure is definitely real for many local languages. But Dhakaiya Urdu seems to resist, partly through identity. It functions as this incredibly powerful marker. It's a special part, almost a badge, of the unique identity of old Dhaka residents. It distinguishes them, culturally and linguistically, from the rest of this huge, sprawling city.
And looking at the bigger picture, like urban resilience, preserving this isn't just about nostalgia for that community, is it? It's about the health of Dhaka as a whole city.
Absolutely. Its survival adds this incredible richness and depth to Dhaka's overall linguistic diversity. Dhaka is enormous, complex. Dhakaiya Urdu is one distinct thread in that tapestry. Losing it wouldn't just be a loss for the speakers, it would make the city's own history feel a bit flatter, less complex for everyone. It's a reminder of Dhaka's cosmopolitan past.
And thankfully, it seems like the dialect isn't just, fading away quietly. It's finding ways to stay relevant in modern culture.
Yes, it hasn't just been documented by linguists and forgotten. The sources highlight its role in contemporary local entertainment. You see it actively used, especially in old Dhaka drama and local comedy, even films produced there. It's visible.
And that seems key for preservation, right? When a dialect is used for humor, for drama, it stays alive. It connects with younger people who might otherwise think it's just, how their grandparents talk. It makes it cool again, maybe.
That's a critical function, definitely. By using its unique rhythm, its proverbs, its specific wit in popular culture, it cements its place now. It stops being just a legacy and becomes a living, breathing, funny, dramatic part of the community today. It gets refreshed through performance.
So to kind of wrap up our deep dive here, Dhakaiya Urdu isn't just talk. It's history, it's culture, it's social tradition, all rolled into one for Dhaka. It's this fascinating blend, Bengali, Urdu, Persian that came out of the Mughal trading era, helped hold the Muslim community together, and even now acts as this bridge for education.
All right, and this brings us back to the core conclusion from the sources. Preserving and, importantly, developing this language is crucial. It's vital for maintaining Old Dhaka's unique heritage, but also for navigating its future transformation. It's about protecting identity.
A language with so many layers, it really shows how every single dialect is like its own history book. So we'll leave you, the listener, with this final thought to chew on, drawing from what we've discussed. Given that Dhakaiya Urdu is this successful blend of Bengali, Urdu, and Persian, born from centuries of people mixing for trade and life, how might preserving it offer a kind of model? Could it show us how to protect similar multilingual histories in other complex modern cities around the world?
Something to think about, definitely. Thanks for diving deep with us on this one.